Hey guys, today I'm going to show you how to do the ciabatta rolls. The recipe is going to make 4 standard size ciabatta rolls. That's the recipe on the screen now. All that's in it is flour, salt and water. We're going to have our starter is already made and doubled in size, ready to go. So first of all we're going to start with the flour and water mixed together to autolyze. Now we're going to get a better result if we can mix the flour and the water and leave it to sit for a while. When I say a while, I usually leave mine sitting about 4 hours, as long as it's not too hot. If it's too hot, put a bit of chilled water, but temperatures today are around 24, 25 degrees, so I'm just mixing it with room temperature water, room temperature flour, mix it all up, and then I'll leave it sit for about 4 hours. If my starter is ready too far in advance, I'll stick it into the fridge once it's doubled in size until I'm ready to use it. So that's the flour gone in, and then we're just mixing it. We're not trying to develop anything here, just purely mixing the water and the flour together so that the water soaks into the flour, which really helps get that gluten going, which is going to give us that kick and all those bubbles in the ciabatta. This video is in real time for working. So all in all the processes together are going to take hands-on about 15 minutes. Obviously not including resting time or time in the oven. So that's just the flour and the water still. I'm mixing it with a wooden spoon as much as I can, which isn't a lot. And I'll get all the flour and water off the wooden spoon and then start mixing it by hand. Scraping down the flour off the sides. Just want to make sure all that flour is incorporated. So like I said, once we've done this, we'll cover the dough just using a shower cap, and I like to leave it for about 4 hours. You can continue on straight away without that 4 hours wait, but you'll get a better result if you do autolyze the flour and water. If it's too hot, you don't want to leave it sitting around for too long. And be aware, if you do it overnight and you put it in the fridge, you're going to start the next day with a cold dough, so take it out a bit before you want to use it, so it gets back to always looking for 26 degrees. Great temperature to use for your doughs. So that's it, just about come together, and then we'll just cover it up and come back to it now, which is, well, covering it up, sorry. Then we'll come back to it 4 hours later. So a nice wet dough there. We're going to measure in our salt, and then also the starter, which is doubled in size and is ready to go. I'm just using my white starter, so it's just equal parts of flour, white flour and water. So there we go, now we've got to mix this in. Again, start with the wooden spoon for as much as we can. If you've got a mixer that can take dough, yeah, whack it in the mixer and let it go. So we're combining all of the starter and the salt with our autolyzed flour and water, and then we're going to give it a mix to start developing the dough. So with the wooden spoon first, and then after that we'll put it on the bench and give it a good mix on the bench. Doing your 4 hours autolyzing and then all the resting time we're going to do now takes away having to mix it for so long or knead it for so long. So that's about as good as I can go with the wooden spoon. So I'm going to tip it out onto the bench and just mix it on the bench. You can do the whole lot in the bowl, but I find it easier to take it off and put it on the bench. It's holding together quite well. It's not spreading all over the bench, but it is still very wet, as you can see now. Mix it, knead it, do however you want to do it on the bench, just really working it, stretching it. As I said, this video is in real time, so as long as you're seeing me doing this, that's how long I'm doing it. It's starting to come together and make a dough. Lifting off the bench a bit, getting there. Bring it all in together. So now I'm just shaping it like we would our loaf of bread, just getting a bit of tension on the surface. You'll see it starts to come and hold its shape a lot better. Just using the scraper and that it's sticking to the bench helps you stretch that surface and put some tension on there. After this, we're going to stick it back in the bowl and cover it up. Always cover the dough up when we're not using it or working it. So it'll go into the bowl and we'll set the timer for 20 minutes. Once that 20 minutes is up, we'll start the stretch and folds. So now it's holding quite well. Straight into the bowl, cover it up, and put it aside. Again, just in room temperature. So 20 minutes is up now. We're going to do our stretch and fold. Just turning the bowl as we grab the dough, stretch it up, fold it down. Stretch and folds. There'll be 3 of these while it's in the bowl, spaced 20 minutes apart. And you'll feel the dough changing and being less sticky as we go. You can put your hand in water before you start this to help so the dough doesn't stick to your hand. So covering it up, 20 minutes later, we're on our second stretch and fold. So although it takes all day to make ciabattas, it really only takes about 20 minutes of your time. Ciabatta's the one I enjoy making the most, I think. Always get a result. And great for steak sandwiches or ham and cheese rolls, anything like that, or even toast the next day. Cover it up yet again, 20 minutes later. And then we're on to our third set of stretch and folds. After this stretch and fold, we're going to transfer it over to our dish that it'll live all night in, or for a good few hours if you're going to bake it later that day. I tend to do it so it's the next day. I'll just cover that up while I get my container ready. I've just sprayed it with oil, scooped it in, and set the clock for 20 minutes, cover it up, set it for 20 minutes. When the 20 minutes is up, we're going to do some folds. So hands wet, Picking it up, folding it under, picking it up, folding it under, turn around, doing the same. You see how the dough's holding together so much better now and holding its shape. That's it, we're going to cover it up, set the clock for 20 minutes. Here we go again, our second set of folds. It's looking good, cover it up. You got it, set the clock for 20 minutes. 20 minutes, we'll give it our last set of folds. And then after this one, depending on the temperature of the day and everything, you're either going to leave it out for a little while or stick it in the fridge. I'm going to leave this one out for about half an hour or so, and then I'll put it in the fridge till the next morning. So here we are the next morning. Flour on the bench. You can't see it, but I've actually got my pizza. I've got my oven. It's preheated up to 240. I've got the pizza stone on my gas plate getting even hotter, because we want a really solid base for these ciabattas. There it is there. I should have showed you that a bit more. So being gentle with it as we get out onto the bench, we don't want to knock all the air out of it. So basically the dough's upside down of how it came out of the dish. So now I'm just rolling it over. Plenty of flour. It's a ciabatta roll, meant to have flour on it, and flour is your friend here to stop it all sticking. And just being gentle. You can see the air bubbles in there. We don't want to kill all those air bubbles. Bit more flour on your hands, flour on your scraper, whatever it takes. And I just want to get it into a nice rectangle shape that I can cut into four rolls. Bit more flour. Some flour on the pizza stone, as I said. I've had that heating up. Don't put your flour on till now, otherwise your flour will just start burning on the pizza stone, but we want it quite hot. So it's been in the oven heating up first of all, and now I've got it on the gas burner heating up. So just roughly into 4. And I'm just cutting it from there, placing it straight onto the pizza stone. There we go, I can even show you now. Sticking to my fingers a bit there, I show a bit more flour on. 4th one's going on now. I've got the kettle boiling because we want some steaming water, and I've got the grill tray in the bottom of the oven. So that's him sitting there. The gas ring is on. I've turned it down a bit. I'm getting my saucepan, because it's much easier to tip that from that into the oven than using the kettle. Be very careful not to get the water on your oven door. People tell me it shatters. I've done it a few times, it hasn't shattered, but so they tell me it does. Excuse my dirty oven. So that's going into the top of the oven. So say it's preheated to 240. I've got boiling water there, tipping that into my grill tray in the bottom of the oven to get all that steam happening. Closing the door, I'll turn it back down to about 220, 230. After about 12 minutes, I'll open it up. I took the steam out then, and then about another 10 minutes later, or when the rolls are the colour you're looking for, there we go, all done. I'll stick the thermometer in just so you can see what we've done here. So we're looking for anything over 97.5 or something. Make sure we cool them on a wire so all the air can get around them and underneath so they don't go soggy. There we have 4 ciabattas. I'll cut one open so you can have a look. I've left it for an hour or so to cool down. Don't recommend cutting rolls like I am. You might cut your finger. I'll learn from this. Cut it open, and there's the inside of your ciabatta roll. It's good fun to make. Doesn't take a lot of time, although it takes all day. Happy baking. There's the recipe again. Just making sure you've got your starter ready to go at the end of when you've waterlised, but everything can be slowed down by putting it in the fridge. Have fun!